And so I ask this question because I have seen a lot of discourse on on multiple sides of this question. So I want to paint the picture real quick and then I'm going to kind of let you answer. On one side of the aisle, we have people that are saying if you watch only WWE or if you watch only AEW, you're not a pro wrestling fan. You're a insert company here fan. You support one company, but you don't support pro wrestling at large. And on the other side of the aisle, you have people that say, and these fans are probably more so WWE fans that say WWE is the mainstream topic. They are what pro wrestling is. If you were to ask some random guy on the street what pro wrestling is, WWE would come to mind. Therefore, out of willful ignorance, they will say WWE is the only product that matters, and AEW, New Japan Pro Wrestling, all of the other independent stuff doesn't matter and isn't relevant. And they may even go as far as to say, like, I've heard this. I've heard this said before. AJ Styles can't be considered one of the greatest wrestlers of all time because the stuff that happened before his WWE run doesn't matter because it wasn't WWE. To which I had to explain to them WWE came knocking at his door in 2002 and he turned them down. So if WWE cared enough about him, maybe we should care enough about him. Here's where I stand on this issue. I stand in the middle. I think it's okay if you support AEW only. I think it's okay if you support your local independent program only. I think it's okay if you support WWE only. You're still part of pro wrestling. But at the same time, you cannot be so willfully ignorant as to say, well, Will Ospreay is not the best of the best because he can't make it in WWE, or you have to have some general knowledge of your competition. You have to have some knowledge of the other pieces of the industry, or else you get what you got at Backlash when Jeff Cobb came out, and for 20 minutes I had to spend time explaining who the hell Joe Cobb was because they don't know who he is. And if you don't, WWE has progressed enough to think that the fans should know who other wrestlers are. If WWE is changing their philosophy to allow you to or to believe that the fans are smart enough to know who Jeff Cobb is, it might be time for you to kind of smarten up on who some of these people are. And so I'm in the middle. Like, you don't have to be me or you who kind of are an encyclopedia of knowledge on who Mildred Burke is and can in 30 seconds can name off 30 accolades of Mike Mizanin, or even know that Mike Mizanin is actually the Miz. Like, I'm not saying you have to know that stuff to be a pro wrestling fan. What I'm saying is you can't deny that AEW exists simply because it's second place to WWE. But at the same time, just because you watch WWE only doesn't mean you're not a pro wrestling fan either. So let me let you share your thoughts on that, my friend.
Yeah, I mean, I would say I'm in the same boat with you as well. That hey, I mean, you can have people who are, if you want to call them tribalists, people they can like who they like, watch what they watch, support what they support, and that's fine. You can have people who watch a plethora of stuff and be a fan of that. I think what determines you as a fan of pro wrestling is it's subjective. I mean, if
Right.
a guy who has never watched wrestling but scrolls through on Netflix and sees this thing called WWE Raw live on a Monday night, and he tunes in and watches it, and then he picks up just one person that he likes,
Right.
whatever it could be, whatever storyline it is, and then he or she watches it every so often because he enjoys that character, enjoys that storyline, may or may not watch the PLEs, but tries to watch Monday Night Raw, if not every week, every other week. Do you consider that a pro wrestling fan? Do you consider that a WWE fan? Do you consider that a insert superstar's name here fan? Like, how do you define that? It's a fan.
Right.
They're watching the
Right.
product. They're a fan.
Right.
I think that the way that the world is these days of we need information right at our fingertips at every second of every day spoils the fans to think that they need to know everything about anything, and if you don't, then you're no longer considered one of us,
Right.
quote unquote. Um,
Right.
and I hate that because I want wrestling to grow. I want wrestling as an entertainment form. It's a sports entertainment form to grow more, to get bigger sponsors. I would love it if they got a beer sponsor, like a legit beer sponsor. I'm not talking about real American beer. Um, give me Coors Light, give me Michelob Ultra, give me something that's like, holy shit, that's a pretty big sponsor that's investing into a
Right.
pro wrestling thing. Grey Goose, or Jim Beam, Jack Daniels, you know, Tremana is a vodka, right? But or tequila, but it's because a wrestler owns it. That's why it's on TV, type of thing.
Right.
Like, give me some of these really huge
Right.
type of sponsors for me, for people to be like, oh damn, they're investing into wrestling. Like, it must be that legit if they're investing into it. And you can see the type of sponsors on WWE's mat now. It's basically become a UFC mat, which is fine.
Right.
But to me, a fan is just that, a fan. You can be a fan of whatever you want to be of. One company, all
Right.
companies, one wrestler, whatever.
Right. So, kind of going off of a piece that you said, like it seems like wrestling now, maybe it's social media, maybe it's, I don't know, maybe it's always been this way, but it seems more prevalent nowadays that pro wrestling and fans are, I don't know, putting labels on people and boxing people into certain places. Like, when I look at wrestling fans, like if I had to describe myself as a wrestling fan, I am an AEW diehard. I love AEW. I've watched AEW since day one, and I will continue to watch AEW till the day Tony Khan has to sell the company, if that ever happens. But when it comes to WWE, I am very relaxed. I don't know a whole lot about the product. I don't know a whole, like, I guess you would say, and they would call me a casual WWE fan. But I like pro wrestling and I keep up with it. The problem I have is I don't like labels of, well, you're a hardcore fan, or you're a casual fan, or you're part of this wrestling community, or you're part of the internet wrestling community. Because what happens is you have people that are part of one community trying to say people, and they generalize and say all people in this community are bad because they all generally believe this one thing, and it becomes this game of politics where like, if you were to strip away all of the labels, like 90% of everybody in America agrees on most of the basic tenets on our political spectrum. We have all of this back and forth arguing because of all of these different labels. I agree, I believe the same thing is true with wrestling. You can go to a WrestleMania, and there are people from England and all around the world in all 50 states that are all different religions, skin colors, creeds, ethnic backgrounds, and all they're there for is to watch wrestling. I don't think they care at that moment if they're hardcore or casual or anything in between. The problem is when we add these labels and you say, well, fuck the IWC because they care too much about the product. They spend way too much time talking about it. And then in the reverse, you have people saying, well, fuck the casual wrestling community because they don't care enough about it. Well, why don't you just watch what you want to watch? Why are you so focused on what or how other people enjoy this entertainment sector? Like, wrestling is supposed to be a place where you can kind of get away from the rest of the world. At least that's how I look at it. Like, I love AEW and I'm invested in AEW because it's something that I can take my mind off of the day-to-day grind that I have to put in for work and school and all of that other stuff that I'm dealing with. It's something that I enjoy. And for someone to say on either side of the aisle that I'm in the right or I'm in the wrong because I see wrestling through a lens different than them, at the end of the day, you are right. It is subjective. Who I consider to be the best wrestler may be your worst wrestler, and vice versa. If you like watching wrestling from the lens of Vince McMahon in the 1980s, which was if you took the most steroids and you were the biggest wrestler, you're going to be the world champion. If that's how you still see pro wrestling, that's totally fine. If you see size as what matters to you, but to me, that might not matter as much as if storyline, if the soap opera of WWE, what entertains you, then so be it. You're allowed to watch in that lens. But I think you have to allow other fans the same respect to watch wrestling in the other lens. So like for me, I could give less than two shits about the story behind a lot of matches. Like, I need to know just basic information as to why X, Y, and Z are fighting each other. But I don't need a love story. I don't really need a telenovela. I don't really need an action movie plot to get me to watch a wrestling match. Just put two really good wrestlers in a ring and I'll watch your wrestling match. Because, and I've always said it this way, if I wanted to watch an action movie, if I wanted to watch a telenovela, I would watch Days of Our Lives or Iron Man, or I would watch the pros do it. Because let's just be honest, Seth Rollins and all of the WWE wrestlers are really good wrestlers. But most of them are shitty actors. There's a reason none of them make it pro and acting outside of like The Rock and John Cena, and that's about the only two because they have a monopoly, and Dave Bautista. But like, you watch 2010s, like the Bella Twins act. There's better acting in like porn movies than what they can do in that time. Like, we'll just keep it real. Like, they're good wrestlers, but they're shitty actors. So if I wanted to watch acting, I would just watch a movie or I would go watch a Broadway play. I go to watch pro wrestling, and this is just me personally, for the wrestling. So just put people in the ring and I'll watch it. Give me just enough information as to why they're wrestling, and then let them tell the story in the ring. But that's my last piece of that. Any last words? What you got to say about that topic before we close the door today?
I mean, I agree with you for the most part about that. I mean, I'm a little bit different to where I need a little bit more of a context as to why these two people are fighting or whatever. I don't always need it. Sometimes it's okay to not have that, and they put on a really good performance in the ring. I forget sometimes that there's no storyline or rhyme or reason for the match other than either it's, hey, this guy's fight got canceled, we needed a quick good match to entertain the crowd, or simply, you know what, I don't like the way you look, I want to fight you. I mean, it can be that simple, whatever. I like a good variety in my wrestling. I'm okay with not having a fully truly announced backstory 2-3 month arc of why this feud or match is happening. But at the same time, I would like some of my bigger things to have some depth to them with storytelling in-ring action and promos and all that stuff. I like a good blend of it. Um, but like I said, you said that's all subjective. Not what one person's wrestling is the right way. It's what they prefer. And if you find that in a company that has more of what you like than the other, that's what you watch. That's totally fine. If you just like wrestling to like wrestling and you watch a bunch of stuff, cool. That's awesome. Don't shame people for liking one thing or not liking one thing. I don't see Breaking Bad fans of Breaking Bad going shitting on people who like Games of Thrones or people who are Sons of Anarchy fans shit on Yellowstone. Like you don't see that. That doesn't happen. I don't ever see. I could be very wrong, but I don't ever see people of TV shows fight fans of another TV show because you like my TV show and I don't like yours. Like I don't ever see people fans of Friends talk shit about fans of Seinfeld or whatever.
Right.
Like the point's there. You don't see that. So why do we feel that it has to happen in wrestling? And that's where maybe a big cesspool of social. That's where kind of a bad vibe of wrestling comes from. Is the fans is because of
Right.
how you can try to get a new person to watch it, but if they say, "Oh man, I really like this AEW thing. It's pretty cool," no, you fuck you. You're horrible. You don't know what real wrestling is. You don't watch the real stuff. You don't watch the good stuff. That's bullshit. That's not good. Like
Right.
why are we shaming that? It's what just what they like. Let them get exposed to more things. Maybe their mind will open up a little more. And they like more things down the road. But yeah, that's it's really the meat and bones, meat and potatoes of it of that whole thing, in my opinion.